Greetings, my name is Christopher Ricker, New York City Parks environmental educator here in the Greenbelt, and today I want to welcome you to our Greenbelt at Home virtual program. During today's Nature Bite, we're going to explore the biology and life cycles of one of the Greenbelt's most fascinating residents, the salamander. Imagine yourself in the Greenbelt. You're sitting on a log and you encounter the most fascinating looking creature. What does this creature look like? Maybe it's shy. Maybe it's smooth and slimy. Maybe it's moving really slowly through the leaf litter on the forest floor. Perhaps you find it living under a log. It has a long tail. It has really small legs. It's hanging out near bodies of water. That's right, it's a salamander. Here in the Greenbelt, we have several different salamander species. Some of them large, like our spotted salamander. Some of them a little rarer, like our Duskies. And some of them that are super common, like our redback salamander, which has some of the most biomass out of all the living creatures in the Greenbelt. If you were to pile up all the birds, all the frogs, all the deer, redback salamanders would probably make the highest pile of organisms, which are living creatures, out of anybody living within the Greenbelt ecological community. So the question is, what are salamanders? Well, salamanders are animals that live both on the land and in the water. They are amphibians, which means they have a backbone, they're cold-blooded, and often they have really smooth skin. Sometimes salamanders have cool nicknames like water dog or mud puppy, although they don't look anything like dogs. They have a long tail, which looks like it could be borrowed from a lizard, which are reptiles. They have really smooth skin, which sometimes they can breathe through, and it looks like they might have stolen it from their cousin, the frog. Imagine you woke up one morning with the ability to lift a house over your head, or maybe the ability to fly. What if you woke up in a body that was completely different than the body that you went to sleep the night before with? Well, salamanders experience that exact same thing, but in science, we call that metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is different stages of life and transformation that occur within a certain animal. Can all of you at home think of some animals that might go through metamorphosis? That's right, one of the most common metamorphoses that people know about is the butterfly. And salamanders, for the most part, go through a very similar metamorphosis. Salamander species will find water. Because they're amphibians and they spend part of their life on land and in the water, they rely on water in order to assist in reproduction. Many salamander species will find vernal pools, swamps, or ponds to lay their eggs in. After their eggs are laid, their eggs will soon hatch into what's known as the larva stage of their metamorphosis. The pictures here show an organism that looks a lot like a fish, but there's still some amphibian characteristics there, even with those gills. Over the lifetime, a salamander will begin to metamorphosize into what's known as a pleomorph. So that is the subadult stage to the salamander. Here you can see this picture shows that the metamorphosis is changing the gills around the organism, and their legs and body is looking a lot more salamander-like. Finally, we have the adult stage of a salamander, and this is when the gills disappear and the salamander will move out onto land. These are the adult salamanders that we most often see in our parks and woodlands. Sometimes we see them in our backyard. Now that we've explored the biology and life cycles of salamanders, let's briefly talk about salamander habitat. So habitat includes water, food, shelter, and space. More often than not, salamanders can be found around wetlands, places like swamps and ponds, lakes, and vernal pools, which are seasonal bodies of water found in forests. But often you can find salamanders right under logs. So if you gently roll the log towards you and look beneath the log, what do we have here? Here is a small little salamander. Now, even though the salamander doesn't have a red back, it is a red-backed salamander. Red-backed salamanders can have a red stripe down the back, or they can be this darker lead-back morph, but both of them are the same species. Something that's a little bit different with red-backed salamanders is that they do not go through a metamorphosis. Instead, salamander females will lay eggs underneath logs, and those eggs will hatch as tiny versions of the adult salamanders, just like this one. Whenever you're looking for salamanders, whether you're in a park or your backyard, you want to make sure first that you roll back the roof on the house and then release the salamander underneath it so you don't squish and you respect our little buddy. Salamanders are amazing animals, and they're super important to our ecosystems here in the Greenbelt and on Staten Island. Salamanders, like all amphibians, are indicator species. Indicator species tell us the health and well-being of a specific ecosystem or environment. Here in the Greenbelt, we have amphibians that include things like red-backed salamanders and gray tree frogs. The abundance and diversity of amphibians here in the Greenbelt, specifically salamanders, helps to tell us that our parks have pretty healthy ecosystems. Unfortunately, over the past 50 years, scientists have measured a massive decline in amphibian populations all over the world. This is due to things like habitat loss, pollution, invasive species, and climate change. But because of engaged members like you who visit our parks and support our conservation and education efforts, we're able to give these salamanders and their amphibian friends a fighting chance. If you're interested in learning more about our virtual content, you can visit our website at sigreenbelt.org. We also have social media platforms that include our YouTube channel, the Staten Island Greenbelt. Thanks for joining this Nature Bite, and we'll see you on the trail.